Recently, Sipover picked me and 4 other of WaveTech's best and brightest to go head-to-head against 30 random players in an attempt to see who could create the best civilization in less than 72 hours. Our team accomplished far more than anybody, including us, expected, and the end result was a truly fantastic masterpiece. Sipover gave us the countdown and opened the gates. Our team immediately began to set up a base of operations in a village near spawn. We knew that in order to have a fighting edge against our opponents, we would have to have a reliable source of food and excellent tools, so immediately we jumped out into the mines to gather as much iron as we could. However, with my 1000 IQ plays, I figured I could get iron from iron golems. So I went into the mines to gather iron, got myself quite a bit too, also snagged a few ender pearls while I was caving. This was crucial to our plans. We hoped all of us would have elytras by the end of the first day, and as many of you know, ender pearls mean ender eyes, which mean getting to the end, which mean getting elytra, which means winning. Or at least speeding up building farms and buildings and stuff. I knew that Trolley wanted to make an iron farm, so after I got back from the mines, I started making a villager breeder. I also decimated a creeper while doing it, proving my validity of being on the pro team. Once that was more or less set up, I quickly whipped up a small snow farm. This bad boy was going to make thousands of blocks we needed for our massive iron farm. Also, it was around this time that I got Bill. Say hello to Bill, everyone. Speaking of blocks, we were going to need an absurd amount of wood for chests, barrels, boats, you name it. So I went on a mission with Bill to help global warming out by engaging in some mass deforestation. Hey, if they didn't look so punchable, maybe they wouldn't be punched, I don't know. While I was on my destructive mission, I noticed a really nice lake nearby. This was going to be beyond useful. What was really cool is while caving underneath it, I found a skeleton spawner. We never ended up using it, but hey, at least it had pumpkin seeds? Earlier, one of my teammates had a hard time in the nether, so to fight off the imposter syndrome welling up in my soul, I decided to tackle on the nether myself. I was on my way to the fortress when I literally ran into a bastion. And behold, the moment I knew we were gonna win. We got big step, boys! I continued looting the bastion, and it turned out that it was much bigger than expected. My inventory was full of loot, but I pressed on, thoroughly emptying it of goodies and moving on to the nether fortress. The only thing we wanted from the fortress at this time was blaze rods. If you recall in my earlier diagram, blaze rods are needed in the making of Eyes of Ender. Pretty useful stuff. Since my teammate had raided the fortress earlier, that was all I was there for, and noped out with the goodies before I was burned into a crunchy crisp. Finally, it was time to get to the end. I have a speech.
Give it.
Let's get this over with. JKM had to log off, but Ruthro was able to join Trolley, Random, and I to go show some blade to a familiar foe. It was so easy, and none of us died. Well, except the time that we all died. But afterwards, Ruthro, Trolley, and I all went through a gateway to find us some elytras. A few mistakes were made, and I was on my own in the end. You see what I did there? But I successfully captured an elytra after a couple minutes of exploring. Evil Empire, laughing all the way to the bank. I then used that elytra to acquire wings for my team, plus a few backups. Along with the wings, I got a lot of fantastic loot, which I packed up in our novelty shulker boxes. Then, back home I went to share the goodies with the rest of my teammates. After I returned home, the rest of the night was somewhat uneventful. I collected a ton of wood and decided to AFK my account overnight at our new Hoglin farm to make sure we got enough pork chops to last us throughout the rest of the challenge. Day 2, I got beyond unlucky. Something was weird with my connection to the server, because every time I logged in, this is exactly what I would see. This is what I see every single time I log in. Big sun, weird horizon. Good times. And I tried for hours to get it to work. I went and got lunch, I came back, it still didn't work. Eventually, I resorted to playing Destiny 2 to pass the time. In the time I was waiting to log on to the server, I solo flawless the prophecy dungeon. Do you know how long that takes? It took forever to log in. Though luckily, eventually, I was able to actually get into the server. It just took a lot of patience and a lot of help from the admins. At this point, there wasn't much I could do but gather materials for our final build. While I was struggling to log in, my team, who, apart from Random, were based in Europe, had been hard at work and had made a tree farm, a cobblestone farm, a small basalt farm, a moss farm, and more. I even heard rumor that JKM had been making a shulker farm in the end, but I didn't trust my connection to the server well enough to jump between dimensions to see for myself. I also learned that Ruthro had created a villager trading hall, including a decoration that I myself had designed. If I can be so bold, I think it turned out amazing, and the door was completely functional. If you know, you know. However, I knew that our final civilization was going to need an absurd amount of resources to construct, so I spent that night gathering spruce, warped wood, calcite, wool, and everything else we were going to need for the construction of our civilization. Day 3 was the day of a real, sweaty, try-hard grind. Sipover wanted to call us pro players, and in the final 24 hours, we strove to prove it. We already had our civilization's infrastructure when it came to farms, but we needed a good old-fashioned town to fully count as a civilization. And you remember that lake I mentioned earlier? Well, that was going to be the spot where we spent the remainder of our time. We gathered the last of the materials, prepared all the chests, and it was finally time to create the one and only LAKETOWN. With the completion of LAKETOWN, there was little to do but wait the last hour or two for Sipover to come judge our world. While we waited, JKM ran our tunnel bore and gathered over 2 stacks of diamond blocks, boosting our civilization's GPD with less than an hour to spare. And the hard work paid off. Sipover joined us in the opposing civilization in a Discord call and announced the winner. We won by such a slim margin, and our 30+ opponents really did a fantastic job with their civilization. But thinking back, I really am proud of all we accomplished. Trolley, Ruthro, JKM, Random, and I poured a lot of effort into this, and I'm so pleased with how everything turned out. So pleased, in fact, that I would love to share it with you. For every 500 likes this video gets, I will release a third of LAKETOWN for you to download and use however you see fit. That means if this video gets 1500 likes, you know, a casual 10 times more than I've ever gotten in a past video, I will release the entirety of the LAKETOWN schematic for you to use however you'd like. If you'd like to see more of my content, feel free to hit that subscribe button and maybe watch this video where I made a building that almost reached world height from bedrock, Or this video where I designed my most favorite building I've ever made. And of course, a huge thank you to Sipover for inviting me to his event. Peace out, fam.